Yes.
Solid.
Good clap.
Solid clap. Eric, 1 out of 10. How was that clap?
I would solid 9.
Ooh.
And I won't disagree.
I would say, man, it's like still kind of ringing in your
It
ears.
had good reverb off the steel ceiling.
Yeah.
Good job, Aaron. It's one of the highest scores ever.
Naturally, there it is. It probably won't be on the recording,
No,
but that
hope the
fits
mic
it.
didn't pick that up. I'm so proud of myself for being the
Yes,
best.
that clapping. Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Peanut gallery.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Put your earbuds in.
Part 2.
Part 2. We're back. Okay. Business and 100 bushel beans.
We'll start with beans.
Brought to you by lots of kelp. Lots and lots of kelp. All right. Take it away.
Okay, so yesterday, walked your bean fields, which, let's not lie to ourselves, Mother Nature has played a great role into this as well.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
But, gosh, at least chest high, if not shoulder high, which,
On Johnny.
yeah, that's not very high. But on the same token, I've seen beans at that height too that didn't perform. But I was overly amazed, number one, pod count all the way down. The biggest thing that we started talking about is what's going to happen between now and the finish line. But let's talk about what you've done to those beans if we would say the finish line was today. What have you done so far to get the beans to where they're at?
Okay. Well, one of the very first things we did was plant early. We've been planting our beans first here for over 10 years, probably closer to 15. We had bought a second planter at the time, a 20-inch row to narrow up the row spacings, and that we could be planting corn and soybeans at both times. But what we found what we ran into with planting early, we were getting more nodes on the main stems, bigger beans, and in the 20-inch rows we were having white mold problems. And so while I still have that planter in the shed, it was just a box Kinsey planter with ground driven, not real high tech.
You want to sell it?
Well, let's talk. It came from Kansas. We can send it back.
Kidding.
Yeah. But so, I mean, that was our first thing for high yield is early planting date. We did run some in-furrow with it this year. It was primarily water. We ran 8 gallons total, but we also ran a half gallon of humic acid. We'd seen good response in root size and stem diameter from that last year. We continued with a half pound of the Sol-UC WSP kelp. We had some potassium silicate and moly on the micronutrient side, and then also a quart of liquefied chicken manure.
Okay.
That got us off and going. Everything was no-tilled with the exception of about 60 acres. We did some strip till experimenting. And what I'm seeing today is I do like the strip till better. We had heavy corn residue from last year, and what I'm seeing in the true no-till, where those stalks are standing, we planted in that heavy residue, we have lost the bottom 4 nodes. It's just stem, they've sloughed off.
Yep.
Some of that's from the residue, I believe, and some of it we were 2 weeks behind on our first fungicide application this year.
Okay.
Usually we like to do that at V6 to V8 on the soybeans, June 15th prior to summer solstice. And we didn't get that done this year, so we've sloughed a lot of those leaves off.
Can you take just a second and talk about how important summer solstice is to you? Because, dude, you mentioned it a lot. And that is something I've always been like, can you elaborate on why you pay attention to that? And some guys are going to be like, well, duh, Pretzer. But I think there's a lot of farmers that are going to be like, wait a minute, why is this an important thing?
Oh, hey guys. Did you know that we have a website? It's really cool. It's really neat. You can find it in the link below in the description, or you can just Google singularagronomics.com. It's really neat. You can know that it's Singular Agronomics website because of the way that it is. Check it out.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, summer solstice initiates the reproductive cycle in a soybean. We're going to see flowers starting then. Early planting can move that up
Yep.
prior to summer solstice, but in most traditional fields, the longest day of the year starts our reproductive cycle. For us, why that date is so significant is we want all of our herbicide treatments done by June 10th, almost a full 10 days to 15 days prior to summer solstice, because I want to give that plant time to digest anything we're putting out there in the vegetative state, not in the reproductive state. Years ago, I made several revenge applications on weeds.
Yep.
And it's 10 to 15 bushel off the top in R1 or R2 stage is what we found. And so, granted, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
But knowing that those herbicide applications late can ding us that hard, we really try to be done with any post-emerge herbicide pass prior to summer solstice. So on the calendar, those are probably the two biggest reasons I watch it. Are we getting our herbicide applications done, and when can I start pushing that bean plant on the reproductive side? This year we upped our kelp game. We started in furrow. Last year we saw larger leaf initiation in the nodes that came after the kelp application. So we knew that this year we wanted to start the kelp applications in that V6 time frame, and then follow up roughly every 2 weeks. So we made a V6 application, a V10.
Sorry, we just had a spider attack Johnny's leg.
Well, it started on my mic, and I was sitting here like, whoa.
Yeah.
So sorry,
we,
Eric.
we grow big spiders here
Yeah.
too.
So sorry, Eric.
Yeah.
And so we started with V6 with a pound of kelp, and then again at V10, R1, and then again at R3 we went with it was probably R3 and a half, went to reproductive kelp to try to promote pod retention and filling the pods that we had. And what we're seeing, you can look at our beans and our bean clusters, strip the leaves off of them, and look at the number of pods per node and see the influence of the kelp. Where we're retaining 8, 9 pods per node, that is the node that developed it right after our kelp application. And then it dissipates, and then you can see the 2-week mark where we hit it again, and here we have another large cluster of soybeans again.
Well, what I like about the location of those clusters are going to fill.
Yeah,
Just because of the location on the plant. No matter what, those pods and those locations, those are going to fill.
yeah,
Meaning not the bottom and not the top.
Yeah.
You're worried about aborting the bottoms and not finishing the tops.
yep.
Like, you guys talk about
Yeah.
that. Oh, I love that late bloom because you add X amount of bushels, but
Are you really adding bushels, or is it just translocating?
are you robbing the bottom beans that get aborted to fill the top beans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's easier to get in the combine if it's on the top than on the bottom anyway. I mean,
True.
let's not forget that, but still,
True.
it's like
Your
But
most influenceable portion of yield is in the middle of the plant.
yeah.
I would almost disagree.
Okay.
Just because I've seen it in the past where we were conventional till, black soil, warmed up early with the earlier planting. We keep those from the cotyledon up nodes, first 5, and we've got branches that, there's small
Yes,
clusters there,
I
but
see.
now
Yes.
we develop
Yes. The
branches.
The branching from
Yes.
the lower
Yeah.
layers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so there's potential to add so much yield in that lower canopy by getting it up early, developing those branches, and then they've got to be protected with that early fungicide application. We've been applying a generic straight strobilurin fungicide in that V6 to V8 area, with the sole purpose of that is protecting those leaves and make sure we get those leaves all the way through into R3 without them having them slough off with a bacterial
Yep.
or some other small disease that'll make them slough off. Because I've noticed that we did it years, and they said, we didn't get anything from that. And the next year we didn't put it on, and the whole bottom of our plant just disappeared. We didn't have the clusters. We didn't have because all the leaves were on the ground.
Yep.
And I think that's why we've always thought that all of our yield comes from the middle of the plant, because that's where we see the pods,
Fair enough.
because we weren't protecting those earlier ones. When the leaves slough off, the food source for those pods is gone, and then the pods start sloughing off, and it just becomes stem by the time harvest comes. So really big on trying to protect those leaves and getting those early leaves to make it full season.
Well, and you're not breaking the bank
No,
with your fungicide.
no,
you
it's
know,
a
I mean,
$3 application.
exactly. I mean, that's dollars saved. You could easily spend $15 an acre on a fungicide, on a soybean fungicide.
Yep.
That's $12. That pays for application. You know, of the money saving there. So
And it's something like that can be put in with a herbicide pass.
yeah,
It's not that we're making a herbicide, our post pass, and then coming back for a fungicide pass later. A lot of times that's tank mixed right in with our herbicide.
gotcha.
The last few years we've had conventional beans. We didn't use any on our conventional beans because we knew that those leaves were going to get destroyed by burner herbicides.
Yep.
So there was
Yep.
no sense in trying to spend the money to protect them with a fungicide when they were going to get roasted with a Flex Star Cobra, whatever later in this.
Maybe rewinding back a little bit on the summer solstice, just a little bit more like understanding is like, how many solar panels do you have when the plant's deciding to start making beans? Is what it really comes down to. Going back to planting early, like I know we talked about this last fall, but it goes to how many solar panels do you have?
Yeah.
The more solar panels, the more energy that crop's going to be able to convert.
That's all leaf is.
Yeah.
That's all leaf is. I mean, and Eric's are literally as big as Bean's face.
Yeah.
I think a good goal, one I try to shoot for, is 11 main stem nodes by the summer solstice, with the goal of ending up with 24 to 25, if Mother Nature allows it, by the time harvest comes.
Yep. Well, and also when you plant early, I feel like that plant feels like it can focus on its roots more. So it's producing more cytokinin to help with that root structure, and just goes back to the foundation. Your foundation's bigger, so when it gets to this time, when it's trying to pull nutrients, because you look at the influence of nutrient uptake. 2 weeks ago, that thing was trying to pull in as much nutrients as possible. Did you start off with a little root system, or a root system was already branched out by the time it was V2, V3? That's why earlier planted beans, easy bushels to gain.
Yeah,
Sure.
they're free bushels.
Yep.
They're truly free bushels. That's all we have to do is get out the door and get going.
Yep.
And see, we fight even almost the opposite for us. Is we have a yield drag, it seems like, on early planted beans where I'm at, and that the later beans can end up being a better bean.
Yep.
But this year, what we're really trying to do is, hey, can we plant an earlier planted bean? An early bean for us is end of April, like after we finish corn.
Yep.
We're planting corn second week of May, or second week of April, trying to be done by the 25th of April. This year, I cleaned the planter out and put beans in, planted, and we're trying to hold a lot of, because I think we lose a lot. Rob talked about it. I think the beans finish too fast. We're trying to slow that dry down and the die down. We're trying to slow that, keep food to it late, and see, hey, can earlier planted beans, keep up with our later planted beans, third, fourth week of May. That's like our window right there for the best beans.
So at your latitude, you're still an indeterminate, or are you playing with some determinate beans?
Indeterminate.
Yeah.
Yep, all indeterminate.
I think it's just sunlight difference. You come up here, how much more sunlight do you have
Yep.
from
Right
June?
now.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
even summer solstice to the middle of August.
Yep.
I mean, it changes considerably from August 1 to August 30th here. Considerably how many minutes of sunlight per day you have or lose.
Right.
Same thing in my area. I'm not going to lie. I think the moment that you're starting to get to your neck of the woods and further south, that change of
Yes.
hours of sunlight doesn't change as much. So you could actually decrease your ethylene production at the end because it's cooler. I mean, soybeans are a C4 plant. It does not like temperatures in the 90s.
Right.
Can it live? Yes. Can it reproduce? Yes. Does it like it? No.
Right.
You know,
And
it likes that September cool.
Right. And
to
that's
pack
why,
on.
yeah, our beans they're going to flower, try to fill pods. And man, I mean, first, second week of September, they're dropping leaves. And if we plant early, and
So how much later can you go on varieties? I mean, so we're on a 2.7, 2.8, maybe up to a 3.0, and are somewhat on the ragged edge of will we make it with a September 10 frost?
Yep.
Most,
Right.
you know, if it were to frost in 10 days from now, we wouldn't be there. I mean, we would take a significant yield
Yeah.
hit.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're a lot of my beans are 4.2 to 4.7s,
Okay.
and a lot of guys plant 4.9s the end of May.
Yeah.
And so, what's our average frost date? October 15th to 20th.
And that's what actually we're hoping for up here this year too, is
Yep.
not to be delayed that far.
But if you look at the last 3 to 4 years, that's been easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost. I mean, I can
So
almost count on it.
I would be curious what early planted beans, and maybe going all the way to a determinant in your neck of the woods, that, you know, what you're planting, it sounds like to me, is somebody planting a 1.8 or a 1.9 in our geography.
Yeah.
You know, what happened if you would go a full point longer than what you are,
Yeah.
you know, to get into that October fill.
And I mean, man, I love planting some beans early just because it takes some of the workload off.
Yeah.
In our quote main window.
Yep.
But can we? My thing is, how much can we influence this crop? Not necessarily yield per se. Yield will be an after effect of instead of it's maturing, boom, this plant's dead. You
Yeah.
know, can we slow that down? Because I think that's where we lose that yield, where we see our drag, where guys like, oh, these didn't yield as good as the beans planted a month later. I think it's pure, majorly the ethylene.
Yeah.
Just that crop literally disappeared
Yeah.
out of the field.
Yeah.
But
That's an interesting thought, though, to extend it and have that plant. I mean, almost your goal is that plant still feels like it's in a vegetative state during your heat at the end of July, beginning of August.
yes,
I mean,
yeah.
yes, it's going to have pods, but it's
We
in the
don't want
sense-
our beans pod filling from July 20th to August 20th.
Yeah.
Like that's not good. And the guys that plant early, that always happens, and there's always a drag there.
Yep.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. Next topic. Anything else on high yielding beans?
For us, it's been early planting.
Okay.
And now what we're learning about introducing the carbon programs and the kelp programs.
We talked earlier. Beans are carbon starved. Beans love carbon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, because it makes so much nitrogen. I mean, the amount of nitrogen a soybean crop is producing, to get your carbon to nitrogen ratio closer, you got to have an overabundance of carbon for that plant to make the bacteria, fungus to fill at home. I mean, definitely fungus. I mean, bacteria, they can survive in that really narrow C to N ratio. And I think another thing, plant health wise, I've always seen this with higher yielding beans, is what is your nodules doing right now?
Yeah.
Are they done? Are they still cranking? Yours are still cranking.
And we put an inoculant on every year and rotate about every other year with types of inoculants. I mean, they're
Gotcha.
all a strain of rhizobia, but different companies are using different strains of that rhizobia. So we're constantly rotating that. But an inoculation, even in just a corn soybean rotation, is part of our program. $1.25 an acre, whatever. It's part of the program.
Yep.
What about seed treatments?
Seed, fully treated.
Okay.
Insecticide, fungicide. One thing we battle with early planted soybeans is you're the first field up in the neighborhood,
Yep.
and if there are any bean leaf beetles around, even a full rate of insecticide on the seed, we've had to come back and spray V2 soybeans for bean leaf beetles because we have every beetle in the county in our fields.
Yeah. They say, hey, go to Eric's.
Yeah.
Well, we saw the exact same thing this year, or I guess my philosophy is because it was the first tassel pollinated corn in the area.
Okay,
Birds.
really?
What?
Birds. Yep, blackbirds. Went to the ear, and I bet I go 300 yards into that field, and 20% to 25% of the ears, the top half of it's gone. It's almost like the ears showed up, and all the birds said, hey, head over there. That's where the food's at.
So were they? You suppose they're going after rootworm beetles, or are they?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I mean, they were just going for the kernels
Okay.
all the way down. And you can see it because it just tears that husk apart. And they just go so far, then move to the next one, go so far. If the ear was exposed before, so the ear grew outside the husk, it was even worse. Because
Okay.
they're like, oh, yeah, there's definitely food there.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't hiding. If everything was closed up and tight, it didn't bother it as much. But if that ear grew out, first time I saw it in my life.
I say I've
Like-
never seen it before.
Like when he said birds, I was like, okay, I need to go check this out because I wasn't ready for it. So
Interesting.
yeah, I know you're dumbfounded right now,
It's
but
always something, man.
that happened.
It's always something.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
and I mean at the end of the day, it's not going to make or break that farm, you know. But it's still like that's significant damage on 5-6 acres.
Yeah.
You know, almost as bad as deer or
Oh my gosh,
raccoons have
don't get
been
me started on
terrible
raccoons.
this year. Yeah, terrible. Somebody called me, corn's beautiful. My corn's falling over. I walked out there. I was like, you're not going to like my answer.
Raccoons.
Raccoons.
Wow.
High bricks must be.
Yeah, it must be. That's why we've gone to 3 strands of hot wire around the sweet corn patch. Too low and one a little higher so that they can't jump over.
You know, and I understand why farmers protect their sweet corn patches, but there was one time they had a fencer, like a mile-long fencer around their sweet corn patch, and I accidentally touched it with my probe.
Oh.
Oops.
Hooked it into a 220 line.
Oh, it
Where
was
it just blows the raccoons apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eric, talk to me a little bit about farm business. 'Cause you're a very analytical person, very business-minded person. How do you structure your operation? How do you separate emotion from a business decision? And how do you try to balance that?
I think age helps.
Okay.
As when I first started out, was very emotionally tied into the farm, what my dad had created, and what I had envisioned for it. Now with a little more gray hair, I'm still very thankful for everything that he's done, but I'm learning that we don't have as much control as we think.
Yep.
And so it's not in my hands. It's in God's hands, Mother Nature, whatever your belief is. But it's in their hands, and I'm there to steward that 10 to 20% we talked about in the last podcast. And so that's allowed me to back up. I don't have to manage the whole thing. I'm not responsible for the 80 or 90. It's going to happen whether I do my thing or not. So I need to pull back and manage that 10 to 20 that I'm responsible for, whether it's numbers or inputs or what have you. And that, I don't know, that's something I've gained with age. So I think if somebody would have told me, Eric, don't worry about the 80% when I was out of college, I would have done things differently, obviously, coming in. But I don't know that I would have listened at that age out of college either. You know, I think that's something you just have to experience with life and go for it. But
Well, and one thing on that point, that 20%, you can make decisions so that 20% is bigger.
Has a bigger impact.
Has a
than
bigger
20.
impact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't want the misconception, probably should have been said last podcast, but gives them a reason to listen to this one, hopefully.
Yeah, they're mad and tuned out.
Yeah, so it's like, you talk about the 20%, I say in a single year it's 20%. But you can start doing stuff that's replicating the system, and your inputs start going down, and or like in my area, all our high yielding guys, it's related to manure. And honestly, the more people I talk to, high yielding growers, that is the foundation. And once that's your foundation, that 20% gets bigger.
Yeah.
Now, do you have to be safe? And you got to be careful with manure because you can go the other way pretty fast too. But yeah, that 20% on 200 bushels, that's significant compared to a 100 bushel yield environment. So. But there's things you can do management-wise to keep making that 20% bigger on a single year.
And I should maybe qualify that. In that 20% is what we were talking about in the reproductive stages.
Fair enough.
It's 60 or 80 or 90% when I'm rebuilding the planter and setting the planter in the field.
There you go.
That is probably the biggest free dollar out there.
Yep.
Is getting that seed in the ground, the seed to soil contact right. We're going to see some things this afternoon that I had to have somebody on my farm last week just show me. I thought I was plugging my roots up with high nitrate levels, and that's why we were seeing all of the brace roots out there. And he showed me it all had to do with the first shoot initiation from that seed.
Yeah.
And I would have never stumbled on that myself. But the hats out to this guy. Kevin Kimberly's the guy's name. He's spent his life digging in fields. And all I can say is find somebody like that in your area and latch on to them, because finding agronomists today that are 90% in the field is harder and harder to do every day.
Yep.
AI is coming out. We'll see AI Rex and all of that stuff come down the line, but there's no replacement for boots on the ground, knees in the dirt digging.
Yep.
For improving crop conditions.
Yep. Business. So one thing we were talking about last night is, total inputs in this crop, total inputs of that crop. And I was doing the math in my head. I was like, okay, even at these prices, it's easier to swallow, compared to a traditional system. Let's rewind back and talk about why you felt so comfortable with the applications of kelp. Okay. And I'm really pointed with this question, Eric, because it's on your screen inside the building there. Do you want to dive deeper into that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how that helped you?
So it's kind of a long story. So I'll start with how we got there. Is we've used biologicals going on 5 or 6 years now with our seed treatment, foliar, or whatever. And the cost of that was adding up. So we decided we wanted to see if we could grow our own this spring. And we had an early spring in March. We went out and took some soil samples and cultured our own local soil biology. We're wildly successful for no reason other than luck. I mean, if you saw my setup, you would mad scientist type stuff. But it worked. And so we had a bottle of biological material, and we had no idea what it was. And I thought, well, before I will go out and put any of this on my crop, I need to make sure I didn't brew up a bottle of
Fusarium.
Yeah, Fusarium, Phytophthora.
Yeah.
Just because you grew something, it doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
So we did that, and I ran across a company called Biome Makers out of California. What they are is a DNA testing company. So we sent them a 5 or 10 milliliter sample of what we had grown. We had grown a sample from broadleaf crops and from wild native prairie
Yep.
crops. Because I knew that the biology in those crops would be different, and so I wanted to see what the difference was. So we sent it in, we got our results back. We came up with 600 different bacterial components and 250 fungal components in our samples. Numbers on broadleafs and grasses were about the same. And so here I'm staring at a 10-page report with the scientific names. Some I recognized, some I had no idea what their purpose was, good or bad, whatever. And so I decided, well, maybe the next thing I need to decide is, this came from my soil. Is the rest of my soil lacking in any of these? Is this going to be a profitable mix to put on my crops? And so what biomakers had is, they call it a B crop, and they use satellite imagery and go out and differentiate parts of your field, and you'll go out and pull 6 soil samples and send those soil samples in, and they'll run the same DNA test on those soil samples. And so what we had were maps of our field where the genomes of the biology out there differed, whether it was topography, soil type, history, whatever.
Yep.
One thing that came out of that was we were short biological strains that created abscisic acid. And I went a little bit farther. So what are their recommendations for fields that are low in abscisic acid or biology? Well, it happened to be kelp. It happened, which we had seen some phenomenal responses from the year before. And the other one was algae, all products we were playing with and seeing physical changes in the plant. And so I'm like, it was just verification in my mind of what we had seen the year prior on how some of these products could be used locally. So I think that's, I'd say, that's how I got confirmation of what we were doing was right. And that's how last year we made one application of kelp and saw changes in the plant. And this year we went to in-furrow plus 3 foliar vegetative kelps,
Yep.
followed by a reproductive. And we've been blessed with great weather this year.
Yep.
And we're seeing fruits from that application. And I would say it was more luck to stumble on the scientific verification of why we were seeing these results. And that there's so much data there that it's going to take me all winter to carve out the next step.
Yep.
But it was just an aha moment, like problem, solution, application.
Yep. Well, and how many times in agriculture is it actually that way?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Especially in the biological or plant hormone world.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
nose? Not
Yeah.
very often.
Yeah, the guy drove up my driveway and says you should try this. Is the
Right.
way it is in most
That's
cases.
usually the one, yeah. That's the strain we usually hear that we're missing.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the part I truly respect. I'm trying to remember if it was middle of July. We kind of went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But the part that I thought was so interesting is that you had kind of a grass native species biology and you had a wildflower and talked about almost doing an inverse in the sense of your corn gets the wildflower and your soybeans get the native grass,
Yeah.
just to help the diversification. Now, no scientific data, but it's just an interesting concept. If we're trying to get a diversity of biology into the system, that'd be the way to do it. You know, the argument on the other side is if there's not the food source for that biology because of the type of plant that's growing there,
Right.
that's where it could go wrong. Or I shouldn't say go wrong, but that's why maybe you wouldn't see results, right? But it's just.
But
it's
at
an
the end of the day, my total cost into it was $1.89 for some molasses and some fulvic to get started, and my time.
Yep.
So I mean, it was truly something I enjoyed. So I mean, for me to put this biology out there that literally cost me nothing but time to do,
Yeah.
versus spending $15 an acre from somebody else's biological, I just thought that the returns on that could be significantly higher.
Well, it just gets to the part of not even a bushel now. I mean, maybe let's just say a bushel equating time into it.
Yeah.
It's a bushel, and you're still making your biological pathway without breaking the bank.
Right.
You know, like I'm not going to sit here and say this did it, but one thing I noticed is I have a gentleman that applied compost extract when we first started seeing southern rust. Okay, it's growing slower. Okay, now is that because we had a reduced nitrogen rate compared to most of the people, or is it because of the biology? You know, we got to keep digging into that, but it goes to the part, put enough good guys out there so the bad guys can't get you.
Right.
You know, it's kind of that theory. And then I think about, I mean, we haven't done how many strains there are and so on and so forth, but it's like, is there a certain strain of an antifungal bacteria that was in that compost extract? I mean, there's a chance that was in there.
Absolutely.
And if that was in there, double down on that cost them 50 cents an acre.
Yeah, I mean, the tests aren't financially out of the realm for farmers to get into.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a biological solution, you know, I think it was $500 for me to find out what was in it.
Yep.
And then, you know, the common sense side is, well, do my fields need that, or are we already there? Beans, I took these samples out of, I call it non-row crop acres. It was CRP, fence rows, that sort of stuff. You know, it was biologically different from what our farming practices were.
Yeah.
I mean, it was our initial thought anyway.
Well, and if a person wants to think, well, I don't got ground that has that, how about you just go to your best field?
Yeah.
Go to your best field in the best area, see what biology's there, and see if that's worth replicating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as easy as that. I mean, I've always heard, you know, go to those creek bottoms. There's a lot of life going on there. You know, find a place where leaf mold's been sitting there, and that's what you use for your inoculum.
I haven't done it, but I was encouraged by several people to go out into the tree groves.
Yep.
And take a sample there and see what you grow, because there are generations of leaf and bark and material on that ground that is decaying, and stuff that you're not going to find in an agricultural field.
Well, and not only that, it's naturally going to be fungal dominant.
Yes,
more times
exactly.
than not.
Exactly. And that was their point. It's going to be fungal dominant.
Yep. But that's the biological game. I believe in it, and I know I've seen it work. It's just, how do you make that fit into an operation that's not an additional cost?
Right.
You know, because a lot of times applied biology, you can pull back 35 pounds of phos. Well, if the phos isn't there, or the phos isn't releasing, maybe we need to put inoculum out for a little bit before we make that hard switch. Like, prove it with a Haney test that your phos is releasing, not just throw a product and then when you're combining it, oh, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I think once you get these systems cycling, is this something that has to be done every year? No, because you're going to start the cycling, and if you continue to feed it with carbon sources and things like that, we're just building a more resilient system.
Yep. Getting more good guys, Pretzer. Getting more good guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. I'm so not. I love being the student. People ask, they're like, man, what do you like about what you do, you know, with what you're doing? I was like, dude, I just get to sit back and learn. Really. That is such a cool thing. I mean, I want to go home and pull some of those samples from some of my areas. I mean, really, it's like, how many times do we go across the field in the combine and be like, man, I wish all my ground was like this?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not saying you can replicate it. Can you turn poor ground into your top yielding ground? It's probably not financially possible.
Let's increase the average.
Yeah, exactly. Just raise your average.
Yep.
Way more economical than trying to take poor dirt and turn it into your best acres. You know, but at the same time, like you said, how much can we affect that 20% or less than 20? I mean, really, deductive reasoning. What showed a response in my soil specifically?
Yeah.
You know, and guys can say, well, what you're doing doesn't work for me. Right, do it for you.
Yep.
I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing this for me, in regards to my operation. Eric's doing it for Eric's operation.
Johnny's just here.
Johnny's here encouraging us to keep doing it.
Before we go down another rabbit trail, one thing I wanted to get across to that I respect so much about the operation is when you went down this path, I was asking you for costs and I was doing math in my head, and I was like, oh, per acre, it could be tough. And the comment that you said to me that just hit me hard is like, no, I've already budgeted research.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I budgeted research and this is what I did.
Wow.
And that just smacked me between the eyes, and I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a line item on your budget for crop research? If you don't, try it.
Yeah, and you don't have to break the bank with it.
Yeah,
Like,
do 2 or 3 tests a year per field and budget $1 per acre on a 50-acre field.
Yep.
You just do some tissues,
Yep.
just a couple soils, or
So some tissues or that, but I think we talked last night about drone operation.
Yep.
The strongest part of drones that I see is the ability to go out and put a 1-acre block in the middle of nowhere in a quick, short, efficient time, and then measure the results.
Yep.
It's been the most effective tool I've seen in the industry in a long time for putting out tests. You don't have to clean out the sprayer tank, the sprayer boom. You load up a 1 or 1.5 acre load, send it out, and we're going to go to a different part of the field and
And
test
do
it.
the same thing.
Or we're going to do 3 blocks, one on the eroded knoll, one in the bottom, and one on a side slope here. And we've got 3 tests out in that field to see where am I getting response from this product or not. That's one thing I haven't done with the kelp, because the biomaker stuff said, no, your whole field's need it all.
Fair enough.
but there are spots and people with different farms that it may just be this area or that area where we can get more precise with our applications, with our dollars,
Yep.
and extract more value from it.
Yeah, that gets me on a drone soapbox. We'll save that for another time.
I have nothing to add. Like I'm just, yeah.
Well, just know, outside looking in, Eric, it's so appreciative to see what you're doing and how you handle it. Like, it was a pure joy going through your crop management plans and seeing the results, the slight little tweaks here or there, and seeing, like, the southern rust slowing down or killing the spores, or no-till versus strip-till. Like, yeah, there some spots where the residue was the issue. Yeah, you saw a difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the field east of here, enter that one.
What, before we end it, what would today's Eric tell the young Eric? Getting into what would today's Eric tell Eric, the 25-year-old Eric? Hey, this is something I would change, knowing now what I knew then, type thing. What would you focus on?
I wish you would have prefaced me with this last night so I had some time to think about
prep.
it.
Sorry, man. I always just atom bomb this on people.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I've been blessed with some experiences to see agriculture in different parts of the world that many others haven't. And it's made me realize that what we're doing here is just it's the same thing they're doing in other parts of the year or of the world. And we've got an advantage here living in the U.S.
Yes.
We've got a financial system. We
Yep.
have crop insurance.
Yep.
Some of those
We're not
things.
rationed on
Well,
fertilizer.
Exactly, yeah. And without the ups and downs of my 20s and 30s, which we've all had them, I've learned more from failures than I have successes. And have you ever? Some mornings I wake up, I'm hoping something fails, because if you walk into something that's perfect,
It's no fun.
you could sit and scroll on your phone all day and learn the same amount.
Yep.
But when you walk in and have to solve something, that's where the learning and the improvement comes. And I don't know, that's something that's
That's beautiful.
just been my driver forever. So
Notate that, Kirk.
So let me rephrase that question.
Okay.
Okay, because I agree with you. I wouldn't trade my journey for the world.
Yeah.
But within that journey, what was the biggest, I don't even want to say financial and or emotional setback that you would tell your younger self to encourage them? Like, what was a certain situation? So like, Jeff, don't chase paint. That was
right.
his, right?
Yep.
We're not talking about changing your journey, but what was the biggest light bulb moment that you're like, this
To
is how I
remind
do
yourself.
it? Yep.
What would I remind myself
Yep.
at a certain point?
I think, and it's really just been an aha in the last few years for me. So earlier on, growing up on a farm, you're very emotionally tied to the farm operation, to the acres you operate. My older self realizes that you don't have to have that emotional tie and that emotional stress to run a successful business.
Yep.
You know, the business side becomes very spreadsheet oriented. It takes the knowing your numbers takes the emotion out of it.
Yep.
You know, last night we were talking about land. I see my 20-year-old, I want to buy this, that, and that, and grow the farm. We're going to buy all these acres. It's not the way to grow.
Yep.
It's not, honestly, it's not the way. Yeah, there's financial gain from buying land. I think land is a good investment.
Yep.
But as an operator today, I look at the dollars that I put into tile. We've talked about irrigation. We've talked about, honestly, I'll call it alternative agronomy. The returns that I've gotten out of those practices are 3 to 4x what real estate has done. And real estate's done nothing but go up. So I looking back, what would I tell myself in 20s? Don't focus on real estate. Focus on the operations and doing what you love to
ROI.
do.
Yep.
And the real estate will always be there. After I'm gone, after my kids are gone, the real estate's still going to be there. So me marking my flag isn't important.
Yep. I got nothing. I'm
I get
speechless.
to go out and look at 100 bushel beans.
Yep.
I said that. Don't say that. They've got to make
Potential
60.
of.
They make 60 first. They make
Okay.
60 first.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Well, Eric, thank you
Yeah, man.
for letting us
A
be
lot.
here.
As I said last night in the truck, I got to go out and see the Kelp Kings of the West not that long ago. I've seen the Kelp King of the North. Dude, it's fun because when you get to just go and look at what other people are doing, just as an observationalist, it's like, dude, I'm not here to teach anything. I'm here to just learn and watch. I have so much to learn. I just leave feeling encouraged. Honestly, it gives me more excitement for next year.
Yep.
For sure. That's what I love about Singular, is the network that is across the nation.
Yeah.
You get different experiences, you get different soils, climate, obstacles. And, well, we may not fight the same things. There's obviously something in your obstacle that I can apply on how I handle mine. And that's just an incredible amount of value.
Sure. Well, I think that even comes back to in a budget line item for research. I mean, it could be research, education. Just what are you spending on you?
Yep.
We talk about what are we spending on our crops. What are you spending on you? Because you're the one that makes the decision for the crops. Are you learning? Are you plugged into networks? Are you having conversations with people outside of coffee shop talk? Like, are you being truly intentional? Like last night, you handed me that book. You're like, here, I download on my Audible. Are going to listen to it on the way home. Things like that. That level of making yourself a better person first, because you can be a crappy person and a good agronomist.
Thanks.
Or you could be a great person and a great agronomist. off a cliff.
Yep, sorry.
Off a cliff. I lost my moment. Johnny just killed my moment. Or you can be a great person and a great agronomist. Or you can be a great person and a great farmer. What are,
Decision's yours. What are you going to do?
yeah,
when
what are
wake
you going
up?
to do? Who's going to remember, so-and-so that was the a-hole, but yeah, he knew how to grow corn. Or, man, that was a good dude.
Yeah.
And he could raise corn. Anyway.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I just had to.
Johnny just
You teed that up.
I
so
did.
well for
I
me.
know I did. And you took yourself down.
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah.
whatever.
Easy target.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming
If
up.
you guys,
We'll host you every year.
Oh, dude,
Oh.
I'm coming back for Buffalo Ditch Chicken. I'm telling you, that stuff was. Anyway, thank you, and yeah.
Till next time.
Farm on. See ya.
Guys, thanks for watching the content so far. If you would like to see more, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got all the full-length podcasts, other video information, tutorials on there. Also on all the major podcast platforms and social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. So if you like this, go ahead and check more out on all those platforms.